So very good morning to everyone. And if you remember last session we did on Tuesday, we were talking about the 5 obstacles that help us from practicing Sunya and progressing in the path of practice of Sunya. And the first one among that was sensual desire. And if you see, as Dhruv pointed out, that I have changed that sensual desire to sensual pleasure. Yes. Because desire is something that you want, but it's the pleasure that keeps us engaged in that desire. Okay, so the senses are always engaged in their subjects, They want to get engaged with them. And it is very important that because they get lost in their subjects, we tend to not focus on the main aim of making sure that the mind is able to achieve the stillness and stability that we expect it to, so that the thoughts that come on in the mind that keep on disturbing the mind does not happen. So today's topic is the first among the 5 series that we will be covering on the obstacles. Sensual pleasures, the seeking of the senses and how they actually seek their pleasures, their subjects. So we need to understand that. So let's first understand how many senses we have. 5 senses. Now these basically are the organs that through which we experience the world, right? So usually people think there are only 5 senses because that's what we've been told. There are 5 senses because there are sense organs. Okay. Then recently when I was also studying with Dr. Lim, and I got to know that there is one more sense organ which I missed, and that was the 6th sense organ. And I was like, 6th sense, I always felt it was something to do with intuition or something to do with, you have that feeling kind. Ancient masters of ours had found out there was another sense organ which is basically not anatomically defined because it's completely, in your self, the whole body, it takes the whole body, it doesn't limit itself to one part. So that 6th sense organ is basically your mind, and the subject of that is thoughts. So the mind and its thoughts, like the nose and its smell. So there is good smell and bad smell. So there are good thoughts and bad thoughts. So very important. Okay, so people don't understand between good and bad in that realm. But who defines the good and bad? When we say good thoughts and bad thoughts, they are relative. So for us to understand that these 5 sense organs are basically also governed by the 6th sense organ, because it's the nose with the mind you have an experience, is the ears with the mind you have the hearing experience, is the eyes with the mind you have. So a person could be seeing something but his mind is lost somewhere. Even though he's seeing, he cannot see, right? You understand? The noise is there, but he's lost somewhere. Then you have to, hey, I'm calling you. Can you hear me? Because he cannot hear because his mind is lost. So the sense organ with its subject, the sense and the mind, they need to be all aligned. In the ancient times, this was shown and depicted as 5 sense organs with their reins. Okay, those reins through which you hold these 5 sense organs, right? These 5 horses are basically the sense organs. So these horses are held by the reins, okay? And then there is this charioteer who sits on it and pulls these horses, because it's both ways. The horses are also pulling and the charioteer also has to pull, but properly, right? So he knows where to pull them and where to get them to work, And the best experience is when all the 5 sense organs, they go aligned in one direction. If they all go different direction, the charioteer has to manage to make them all together, right? So that is what the intellect does, right? You should have that much awareness and intelligence to know how to manage your horses. but through the reins of the mind. So we always say in Sunya that we exert sufficiently, not extremely, not very, very lightly. You need to exert sufficiently depending on the situation. Everything you do, you engage your senses, because if you cannot do that, it will be very difficult for us to practice Shunya. Because in Shunya, when we do reverse count, we are actually learning to align our horses, the five senses, and the mind in one direction, letting the intellect connect it. We tell you to look at one point, so your eyes are seeing but not moving, your ears are listening but not going there, your body is fixed in one position. All this is being done so that all of your five senses and the mind, which is actually engaged in the counting, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, it's doing that, and there is somebody who's monitoring all that, right? Yeah, you know, somebody is checking, hey, you went wrong, you missed the count, you know. Mind that you do it properly, okay, don't lose. Once they all get in order, we get used to bringing things in order. You are here in the chariot to gain an experience, okay, traveling with the horses, controlled by your intellect, which in turn needs the reins to manage that. So all in all, you need, it's a combination of many things. Then how can the senses distract me from practicing Shunya? Because they wander. The best example is the mind. Mind as a sense organ. Do you think it wanders? The thoughts? One thought come, going there. Another thought come, going there. Everywhere. You let loose of the reins. Where will they go? They will go everywhere. It is very important to bring them in focus. Okay, so that we can continue our journey. The whole confusion and chaotic mind, when it is now systematically able to process information, experienced by the senses, it is able to give you a better experience of life. You remember the first example that Buddha gave was about water. Water is transparent, clear. The first he said is sensual desires. Okay, so how does that get clouded with? Different colors. The whole view towards life, if it's clouded with all these senses and their experiences, then you're not able to see life clearly. It's your senses taking a decision. The horses are now pulling the reins more than you are able to pull. There are three yogas, you know, when it comes up to the senses. Ati Yoga, you should never do something more than what is required. You should know to strike the right balance, okay? So you don't pull the reins too hard that the horses stop, completely stop, okay? Or you don't let them too loose that they run away. Okay, you need to hold them perfectly, sufficiently. Okay, so no Ati Yoga, no Heen Yoga, means letting loose. No Mithya Yoga. Mithya Yoga means just, you know, not even holding on to it, leaving it, not even caring about it. So that is Mithya Yoga. So we never, do too much, too little, or absolutely something wrong with your sense organs, right? Now, Buddha also gave a beautiful example. Now, what you see on screen is what? A log of wood. It's floating. In this world, Buddha said, how do you manage your senses? He says, like a log of wood that floats in a river. It should be between the two banks of the river, two borders of the river. It should float in between that. If the log of the wood floats towards the corner, if a turn comes, it gets blocked there. And it will never be able to go further, right? It should never be at the border. It should go in between when the river is flowing. Very, very important. When it goes in between, when the river is flowing, it can travel very, very nicely. And where does the river go? To the sea. That's where your liberation is. The river's liberation is when it mixes with the sea, right? So if you don't know how to balance, then it becomes a problem. Then the next question comes, what is balance? People think doing everything equally is balance. But the picture that I'm showing you, do you think it's in balance?
It is in balance.
It's in balance. So the log is balanced or not? Yes? But do you think both sides have equal things?
No.
Yeah. They are being balanced in the right way so that there is equilibrium. So what to do when? You need to have that much awareness. Because the world is not perfect, your balance is not going to be perfect. Everybody needs to know what he's using his senses for. And if he can know that and he can strike a balance, nothing like it. So very, very important that you need to know that. And the most important part other than that is you all need to know that these sense organs are nothing but the part of the body, and they are going to disintegrate one day. We are today this body. Everything is going to go weak. That means one day my thoughts will also get weak. My mind will also get weak. Yes or no?
Yes.
That means if these all are one day going to get weak, what am I having an attitude for? Who am I? The chariot is one day going to be dismantled. It's going to be all lying there. Always remember. So your pleasures for your sexual pleasures, your pleasures for sensual pleasures. Maybe for eating, drinking, losing yourself. These are all pleasures that the mind and the five sense organs also seek for. And you should be always aware how much of what you're going to do. If you are able to do that, then you are able to manage a lot of things, and you are able to bring your mind and your five sense organs in the act that you want to engage. So how do we now manage to get these senses to the sensual desire that we have? Because desire is from the mind. The mind whispers to the senses. So we always say you have to handle your senses in the right way. Now coming to the point that, okay, then that means I engage with the world with my senses. I see my senses are the only option that I have, the only medium that I have to see this world and experience the world. And through this world, I perform my duties. Okay? Not just for seeking pleasure. Because if that is the case, then it doesn't work. Because if you're only doing it to seek pleasure, then you're going to get nothing from it. But if it's a purpose-driven experience, a purpose-driven engagement with the society or with your job or with your duty, then engaging the horses for that makes sense. So we need to know that these sense organs of mine, with the reins of my mind, okay, I need to manage them well with my intellect, with my understanding, with my awareness. Okay, and for that I need to cultivate the eye of Vipassana. Now you understand why Vipassana is very important. Samatha is to bring everything in balance. Horses aligned, the reins perfectly in hand, and then you are now using Vipassana to now see things clearly. So then you can ask, once that you have cultivated the eye, then whatever your vow is, whatever you have aimed for, you can go towards it. We use one very important tool or method to judge whether the sensual experience is right or wrong. And they are our Panchashil. There comes your Panchashil. So when I say I shall not do harm, if these five senses are not doing harm to me or to anybody, then that's good. But if I'm torturing these senses, I'm torturing somebody else because of that, then that is not right. Okay, then I shall not take something that does not belong to me. So similarly, when these sense organs, they are not taking something that does not belong to me, then it is right. Then I shall not disturb the harmony of the society or the family. So when these sense organs do not do that, then it is right. I shall not make false claims. Okay, these sense organs can actually tempt you to make even false claims, So don't do that. If it started to do that, okay, you know that this is wrong because it's not what I should be doing appropriately right now. You know that, you sense it. When you have achieved and taken care of your responsibilities, then your journey towards peace will begin. You cannot just hang out your shoes and say, now I want to experience peace. Then I shall not intoxicate myself. And that's where sensual desires or pleasures, they are most vulnerable. They intoxicate themselves. You like something, it likes it, keeps on asking. So these five, Panchashilas, they become the basis on which you make sure that your sensual experience is not, it should be pleasurable. It should give you that feeling of content rather and happiness. Your happiness should be backed up with content. Oh, that's enough. Not over flooded. See, obstacle can obstruct you if you don't see it. If you see it, then you navigate, you can jump it, you can do anything. But if you don't know, that becomes a problem. So this brings us to the end. Thank you so much and see you all again. Okay, bye-bye.
तो स्प्रेड थ्रू इंडिया, पूरी दुनिया में ये स्प्रेड होगा। When India started to practice Sunya, जब इंडिया ने प्रैक्टिस करना शुरू कर दिया शून्य का, but the ancient Chinese describe Sunya as India, जैसे जो चाइनीज थे पुराने, उन्होंने इंडिया के बारे में कुछ बताया है। सिंपल, वो एक साधारण देश है, एलिगेंस, लेकिन उसमें कुछ खूबसूरती है, और सबसे बड़ी चीज है महान है।